everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Seven Figures or Bust Podcast, the number one podcast in the world for growing your insurance business. It's Monday morning.
Woohoo!
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy World War III to you, sir.
Your audio is horrific. I just want to say that. I'm not doing an hour with that. It's got to be fixed.
Hang on.
While you figure that out, ladies and gentlemen, right? This is episode 121. We're a week away from day one of conference day, the seven figure Medicare Agent Summit. So this week will be filled with preparation from our team, our organization, everything like that. I'm also on baby watch. I was told there was a north of 50% chance that we have a baby this week. So a lot going on.
Is my audio better?
Much better.
Much better. Okay.
Yeah.
Baby watch 2025. What a week. World War III, the summit, and baby watch all happening at once. We have the summer solstice this week. We have a federal holiday this week.
I mean, if you had to do a tier list, it's kind of difficult to determine which one goes in which tier of urgency.
Should we rank? Should we just do a quick ranking? Oh, man.
Before we get into the topic at hand, and it's a big one, right? Topic for episode 121. Is there anything AI won't be able to do in the next 5 years? Is there anything it can't do now? I mean, certainly the answer to that is yes, but how was your weekend?
It was good. I was thinking about it. So I went camping this weekend. The campsite we were trying to go to was full, which was a bummer. So we ended up at a different campsite. We're out in like the sand dunes, probably 2 hours south of where I'm at right now. But I had essentially like no internet connection, no cell phone connection for almost 3 consecutive days. I was thinking, I'm like, man, it's probably been a long time since I've been without internet for several days like that. It was kind of nice. It was kind of nice to be out there. I was fishing with my kids and just roughing it in the woods. So that was kind of that was my weekend. How was your weekend, good sir?
You know, I
Happy belated Father's Day, by the way.
Thank you,
yes.
and to you, to you. Yeah, I think it's it was an interesting weekend. So
that's ominous.
I spent a lot of. It seemed like it was, I don't know, 10 days long this weekend. So I spent a ton of time with my kiddo, a bunch of time.
Yeah.
We basically had an 8-hour daddy-daughter session where we went all over the world, going to various places. We went to the aquarium. We went to a place called the Butterfly Biosphere near our house.
Ooh, I feel like I've heard of that.
Yeah, you can there's exotic butterflies that fly around. You can let them land on your finger. The last time we went there was for Violet's birthday, her 5th birthday, and she had a vice grip on a butterfly's wing, and it was traumatizing. I was trying to get her to let go, and I was like, I had her hand, and she was screaming, didn't know what to do. So I was a little nervous taking her there. I didn't want her to massacre all these beautiful, poor butterflies. But she did. She did well. Good. There was a moment where there was a butterfly, like on her finger. She was letting it. She was being gentle. I was like, good. And then it started crawling up her hand. She went like this, and it flopped on the ground. And someone yelled at us. And I was like, she doesn't understand. She's little. I'm like,
how many butterflies are we talking?
Probably 100.
Oh wow. Okay. So
they're
everywhere. Just flying all around. Yeah, they're
all
everywhere.
over the place. Then we went to trampoline park and all that stuff. Then I started having some anxiety for the rest of the weekend that I'm going to be out of commission with the summit, the baby, everything like that.
Yeah.
From work. So I kind of worked the rest of the weekend. Like I just So it was being a dad and working this weekend.
Working on your day off on Father's Day.
Yeah, like 12 hours.
Understandable. Yeah. Understandable for sure with everything going on. I'm excited. I'm excited to come out to Utah and just 6 days now. 6 days I'll be out and the summit's just around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be epic for those of you who are gonna be there.
For those of you that aren't, I mean, you done messed up, son. I've told you this already, but that's okay. It's all right. We all make mistakes in life. Some of us make
right.
bigger mistakes than others, but we all have to live with those mistakes.
I did want to mention as well, on our last episode, I mentioned that if the Thunder win game 4, which they did, that this will go to game 7.
Mm.
And I stand by those remarks. I do think we will be watching game 7 at the welcome party Sunday night. So very excited about the NBA Finals and where it's going. Do you think it's going to go to Game 7, good sir?
I think at this point it's a coin flip. It's 50-50 for me, but if I had to decide one way or the other, I would decide that it's not. I don't believe that it is.
Oh, okay.
We'll see. Here's the thing. That last game, game 4, Oklahoma City did not play well for all intents and purposes. In 2025, they made 3 3-pointers. They only took 17, which the league average is like 28.
That's crazy.
And they still won, which
I
is
didn't really
kind of
see much of the
surprising.
game. I didn't really see any of the game, to be honest. But you could make that same point with the Pacers win game 1.
Mm-hmm.
The Pacers played horrible and still managed to win that game. So I don't know. Maybe sometimes that's basketball. Sometimes you play a bad game, you still win.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think that Indiana crowd was insane, like it was a very impressive win, and I think Indiana had the game in the bag and they blew it, and it just made me think, oh, I don't know if they're ready for this, but we'll see.
We shall see. I really like Game 7 at the Seven Figure Summit. It just lines up too perfectly for me. I think they're doing it for us, if I'm being honest. I think the NBA script writers want Game 7 for the Seven Figure Summit. It's too perfect. We'll have to get like a bookie at the welcome party, just taking bets from everybody on who they think's gonna win.
Let's shift gears into sponsorship, right? Because this is a big topic that we have today. Who is the sponsor of episode 121?
Guys, the sponsor of today's episode of the Seven Figures or Bust podcast is none other than Hire Heroes. If you are looking for a vetted virtual assistant, someone who can come into your business, come into your agency, help you with low revenue, no revenue tasks, data entry, managing emails, managing your CRM, handling inbound phone calls for your business, a virtual receptionist, all of the things that you need to be able to stay more efficient and focus on your highest revenue generating activities, the things that you're best at, the things that make you the most money. Head over to hireheroes.com and check out what we have available. We've been doing this now for over 5 years, where we can take someone from our vetted virtual assistant pool and plug them into your agency. They have a baseline knowledge of the insurance industry already, and they can hit the ground running, handling all of these tasks that you don't want to do, you shouldn't be doing, and that are essentially costing you money, to be honest. So head over to hireheroes.com right now. That's hireheroes.com.
All right. So let's shift gears a little bit, right? We haven't talked about AI a lot on the pod this year. A little bit here and there, but we haven't discussed it probably in its own, lengthy episode. I found it fitting, right? So I have a lot of thoughts on this. I'm sure that you do as well, but I found it fitting to ask ChatGPT a question and see kind of what response that it would provide.
Is this your post from last time? I
No,
saw your post.
no,
Oh,
no.
different. Okay.
Unrelated.
Okay.
We were having a deep philosophical conversation after
Yeah.
this, but I
Christian's
thought it.
best friend is ChatGPT.
But no, it was kind of interesting. Its response. So its response was what AI still won't be able to do most likely in the next 5 years.
Okay.
Number
The
one,
antithesis of our question.
yes. Number one, truly understand human emotions and morality.
Huh.
So
Interesting.
I could see that, right? I picture Arnold being like, "I understand why you cry, but it's something I can never do." Automated responses, "Fuck you, asshole." um,
Trying to decide what to say.
Number two, be fully trusted to make autonomous decisions in high stakes leadership roles. So, like, an AI president probably isn't in our future, which I'm okay with that. Raise children or replace human parenting. Good boy. Good
Makes
boy.
sense. Kind of goes with
Oh,
number one.
hasta la vista, baby. Number four, create truly original creative breakthroughs. Examples would be writing, music, even well-crafted jokes. And then it gave an example. Think Einstein's theory of relativity, Steve Jobs' iPhone, Kanye West's 808s, and heartbreak.
Oh my
And I thought that was kind of interesting because I'm like, obviously it can write right now, right? It can.
How does that make how does that make it on the list? How does
Steve Jobs' iPhone, Einstein's theory of relativity, Kanye West's 808s, and heartbreak album.
One of these doesn't match. Oh my gosh.
Well, clearly AI has a taste of
Yes,
masterpieces and genius.
guess.
Okay.
I guess.
That
Wow.
one's interesting because obviously, AI today can make music. It can write things. It can do all these types of things. But it's kind of like reiterating what's already been. It's not like inventing something that's fresh or original. I guess that's the point of that one. Kind of interesting. And last one, replace real world high empathy service roles, such as marriage counseling, delivering tragic news,
Oh.
end of life care like hospice, things like that. That being said, that's not a very long list. Which
take your pick. Are you going to be a comedian or a songwriter? That's all you.
Before I jump too deep into this, because I don't know, I've been thinking about this a lot. I have a lot of thoughts on today's episode. What are your thoughts on this topic?
So, AI has been such a hot button topic in I'd say, really like the entire business world for the past 24 months. There was a period of time there where it was almost comedic, where these big time CEOs would be getting interviewed, and it was like they were just trying to say AI as much as possible. Like to pump their stock or something, like, well, we're going to implement AI to do this, AI. And, they always talk about like the evolution of AI and how quickly it can change and grow. And I think what's really changed the temperature recently, because before it felt more like a rudimentary tool similar to utilizing a search engine like Google. That was kind of what it felt like to me earlier on. Now, with the capabilities of designing pictures, of creating video, of creating audio, it has kind of jumped to a whole nother level, in my opinion. And it does feel, if I'm being like super honest, it feels like the reality of what we're seeing is going, it feels like, to me, honestly, it feels like it's slowly unraveling, where, and especially, I mean, the senior demographic, God bless our seniors, but I struggle to see the difference between an AI generated photo, an AI generated video, and a real photo, a real video. So I can only imagine how many people already are seeing AI content and they're thinking it's real. And that the trajectory of that whole conversation is terrifying to me, of where that's all headed. I think there's some incredible efficiencies that are already happening and will continue to happen. And I mentioned our sponsor of today's episode, Hire Heroes Virtual Assistants. I think utilizing AI with your virtual assistant, it's like giving them, it's like taking the pistol out of their hand and putting a machine gun in their hand. And now all of a sudden they're 10 times more deadly than they were yesterday. So those are some of my first thoughts on this whole topic.
So, had a moment over the weekend. I went out yesterday in between my work sessions. I was working for a while, 3-4 hours. I'm like, I'm going to take a quick little break. I went out looking for a Switch 2.
Did you find one?
Still can't find one. But what I did do is I bought the latest Xbox. Because I'm like, why not? I have an Xbox One.
Consolation prize.
I'm like, all right, second place wins the war. And why do I do these things? My wife asked me this when I got home. She's like, why do you do this? Because I spent $750 on games, the equipment, the controllers. And she's like, you're not going to play it. She's like, look at you. She's like, it's Father's Day. You're working. And I'm like, she made me feel so dumb, like so small. But anyway, I go out. I had to stop for gas. So stop for gas. Gas pump isn't letting me transact. It's having problems. We've all been there. So I go inside to the cashier to, be like, give me $45 of gas on this pump. Come in. The dude's standing in the back room. I'm standing there for like probably 30 seconds before he comes out. Comes out and he's like this. Like literally, I'm not even like exaggerating much. That's just the expression. Okay. I'm like, who am I dealing with here? Like a challenged person? And so I'm like, after like 30 seconds of that, so now I'm like 60 seconds standing there. I'm like, hey, hello. He's like, hang on a second, sir. And at first, I couldn't help myself but thinking this, and I've talked about this on the pod before, where I've gone places, needed to do business somewhere, right. And that's like the type of low effort, things that I'm seeing. First thing I think about is I'm like, you're cooked. Like a person like this is cooked. Like AI is going to throw you in, in your mom's basement, like there's no place for someone like you. You bring nothing to the table. You have a relatively simple, easy job. You can't even do that,
So he was just ignoring you.
It was like a minute.
His message or something.
Yeah, pretty much a minute and 15 seconds. Probably.
Wow.
And it was kind of eye-opening to me. I'm starting to notice this more and more. I'll go places and I'm like, you might survive. You won't survive. You're who's the most replaceable?
You're triaging people. You're like, AI, I'm going to help you. This one can go.
Yeah.
This person's approved.
What's the lowest hanging fruit of what can be replaced now? And, that just kind of jumps out at me. And then I started thinking about like, I'm like, okay, I'm like, people say things like, okay, AI won't be able to diagnose, the doctors might not be replaced. But then again, they might, right? Like, there's already conversations happening in certain places of like a robot performing basic surgery and diagnosing illnesses or diseases with higher accuracy than a human doctor.
Yes,
Like,
it's happening.
so doctor historically has been looked at as like one of the higher end echelons of careers that exists out there. It's like a coveted position as far as careers go. Replaceable.
Not only that, I just saw in the news recently, it was like a heart surgeon in Rome performed a surgery on someone like across the world. I can't remember where the person was, but they were using robotics to remotely do the surgery. Yeah, and that's part of this conversation for me too, is the intersection of robotics and that engineering advancing at the same time AI is advancing. What does that intersection look like, right? Because for a long time there, when we were talking about AI like 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, it was kind of like, well, the blue collar jobs, those aren't going away. But what happens when robotics continues to advance?
Yeah, and AI is going to be able to grow food. AI, like you mentioned a second ago, right? Not being able to tell if a video is a person or an
Yes.
influencer. One thing I've been playing around with recently is like how possible is it to create like a video of me based on all the video content we have and be able to not tell that it's not AI. It's pretty good. It's very close.
Give it a number. If 100's perfect you in real life, what would you say?
90.
You think it's like 10% away from being
Yeah, like
almost
exactly me.
indistinguishable from
The
you.
only way you can tell it's not me, if you really pay attention, is some of the pronunciations sound just a hair slightly robotic, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes like it'll try to mimic mannerisms I'll make in a video, and it will put it
Yeah.
in like the wrong time, like where it
But if
doesn't make sense for it to be there. But you have to really look closely. That's the only way you can tell.
if someone didn't know you, right? If someone
Probably wouldn't know.
they probably wouldn't know, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I shared that video of myself. One of our employees helped create of me, and that wasn't even that was a picture and audio. It wasn't even any video of me that I uploaded, and it was pretty good. I mean, I can't remember exactly which episode that was on that we shared that, but I imagine at some point that gap will just continue to close. We're gonna get to the point where it's almost indistinguishable.
We have this generation of kids that, when we were kids, it was like, I want to be a police officer. I want to be a fireman. I want to be an astronaut. This generation of kids right now, I want to be a YouTuber. I want to be an influencer. But that's going to be replaced. You know what I mean? Like AI.
It's true.
Influencers will potentially overtake real influencers. It can put out,
I honestly believe
100 times more content than a person can.
Yep.
It's wild to kind of think about the possibilities and how fast it's growing on top of that. Like, people compare it to the internet becoming of age and social media and all that stuff, but I don't think those things were moving as quickly as this is.
I don't think so either. I think it's that exponential growth effect where you can't compare what happened over the last 10 years to what's going to happen over the next 10 years because the curve is so sharp. The idea that we might very soon start knowingly ingesting AI content and like we're okay with it, or people are like, oh, this is my favorite YouTuber and it's just an AI. It's not even a real person. Just kind of mind blowing. Like imagine your kids coming to you in the near future talking about how much they like this person and it's not even a real person. It goes back to that Gary Vee thing where Gary Vee was like, hey, your grandkids in 20 years from now, they're going to marry an AI person.
Yeah.
It's like,
Like,
what?
it's
What?
that movie Her, when it came out, it was so ridiculous to me. I thought it was hysterical. But it's
Here we
looking like
are.
it's more real and
Here we
real, right?
are.
If
Yeah.
anything, it's probably
Yeah.
worse than that, because like that was like, you know, high version of Siri, basically, right? There's no like physical form, but they'll have like physical form. It'll be like a robot that looks human. There's this movie we saw recently about basically that, like that, you know, somebody can order a robot that looks human. They program it to be in love with you, and it's programmed with
Terrifying.
all these memories of how you met, and it's infatuated with you, and it'll do anything you want. You can turn it on and off, and you know, that kind of thing. I can't even remember what the movie was called. It was like in the last year. We saw it in theaters. That's probably going to be a thing before you know it. Amazon and Tesla. I mean, you showed. I don't think it was
Yeah.
on this podcast. It might have been on Taco Tuesday back in the day, but you showed me a video of like a robot lifting
That was
things.
years ago.
Nowadays, like Amazon has robots in their factories, and some of their factories is like trial runs. You know, Tesla does in some of their factories.
Yep.
They're trying to remove manual labor completely. In places like San Francisco and certain places in California and other select places, you have completely autonomous taxis, basically Ubers, that
Yep.
there's no person. It'll just drive you where you need to go, and that's expanding. Like, I guess this is where I'm leading with this, right?
Yeah.
Where does this end? Does it end? Where does this end? Skynet? Like, not to get ridiculous about it, but like, it's interesting to kind of just watch the world around us change. And I have some thoughts about this, but I don't want to spoil anything. I'm curious of what your thoughts are.
I don't know where it ends. You know, I've ingested a lot of outside opinions because this is so above my pay grade in a lot of ways, right? I from a philosophical standpoint, I like to kind of try to understand the future, especially also from like our business and the industry. Like I want to know how does this all coincide? How does AI continue to advance, and how does that affect the landscape of the economy? You know, you have the extreme spectrum of people who say that, you know, universal basic income, UBI, is going to have to be a thing
Right.
because so many robots and AI, so much of it will essentially annihilate jobs here in America, around the world. So on the extreme end, we've got like the Skynet, you know, AI overlords. We don't have essentially any more jobs. And then all the way to like the other end of the spectrum where you have people saying that the hype for you know, AGI, which is like artificial intelligence, where it's actually like able to really think for itself, that like that's really far away and that a lot
Right.
of this stuff is overhyped. So even right now, with the way technology has advanced, there's a big spectrum of like beliefs out there of people who think that, you know, again, like Gary Vee said, he thinks people are going to be marrying AI in 20 years, maybe, or maybe not. I don't know. I'd like to think that there's a cohesive future where we're using AI as a tool, but it's not exterminating us as a human population, which is just wild to say. It's wild to say. You should have been wearing your Skynet shirt. You've been wearing your
Yeah.
Skynet shirt a ton, and now you're not. You're too on brand today.
In the wash.
Yeah.
Sorry, Skynet. I mean, if you're listening. No, I think so my thoughts on this are, I think what's most likely going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years is the people that control AI will control
The world.
basically the economy of the world. You know, and I think on every end of the spectrum, right, there are people that are poor people right now that are engulfing themselves in AI that are going to become extremely wealthy. There are, and you know, using it for their benefit, right? There's people right now having AI influencers created that's just some random person, and they're using that, then getting brand deals with that. You know, they're making tens of thousands of dollars a month in brand deals and, you know, sponsorships and all these different things. There are people that are using AI to build websites and apps and things like that, and then selling those things. So I think there's going to be a lot of people that are poor that engulf themselves in AI. It's like this massive opportunity. On the flip side, there's going to be people that are rich, incredibly wealthy, that are not adapting, and they're going to get slaughtered by everyone that does.
For sure.
Like you're going to
For
see a wealth exchange, I believe, that's like generational for people that are using this, perfecting it, becoming extremely adept at it, controlling it in a way. And then there's going to be the people that aren't. And I think 99% of people, by the way, are going to be this, you know, the cashier at the gas station. You know, he's done. He's cooked. You know, dude's like 40, if I had to guess. Like, it's over for him.
I keep imagining you like leading a pack of robots around. You're like, that's him. Whoa, whoa. Senator Palpatine here on the pod today.
Execute order 60s.
Like, I signed a deal with AI. I had to stay ahead of the curve. That's him. Him too.
But no, like, how many people are in the workforce? What percentage of people are in the workforce that are basically useless? They serve no purpose.
There's high level, highly educated people who are in the workforce who will very soon most likely serve no purpose. I think being an attorney is going to be a shit career.
That's funny you say that. I was just thinking about that. Like,
yeah,
especially like a contract attorney.
Yeah.
Like, your whole job is you write contracts. You're cooked. You know, hey, I can do that now.
The tough part though is you still probably need an attorney like to stand behind it to represent you in court, right?
Sure.
You couldn't necessarily show up and be like, let me prompt my chat GPT what I need to say.
My defense.
Yeah, my defense attorney, GPT. I mean, who knows? That might change in the near future too. But you know, I do want to circle this conversation back to like how is this all going to play into the insurance industry, including the Medicare space too. Like I want to get into that whole side of this. But okay, so where does it end though? Where does this end? Do you believe this is the Skynet type situation, or are we looking at 5 to 10 years from now possible human extinction? Like what are we talking about here?
We're talking 5 to 10 years from now. I don't think human extinction is the most likely outcome. After that, I don't know, because this is growing so rapidly, right? Like we started talking about this on streams 2 years ago. Think about how much it's advanced since then. Like redonkulous amounts.
Yes.
So I can't say past 5 to 10 years, but 5 to 10 years, I would say not. I think for our space, I think there's going to be two types of people. I think there's going to be people that embrace this and implement it in a real way into their business. And there's going to be people that don't. And the people that do are just going to be so much more efficient. They're going to be so much more capable. They can get 100, if not 1,000 times more done than the people that don't. And I think from a competition perspective, they're just going to crush those people that don't, right? Like our industry is one of the last industries that still has like paper apps, faxing applications, writing things on sticky notes, putting them on their computer type of people.
Right.
And I love these people. I interact with them all the time and every day, but like, people that won't use a Google Calendar, people, that those types of people, they're really far behind. I just don't know how people like that compete in a big way, so that's where I think it's going for our space, is I think finding ways to use it in your business and, improving efficiencies.
I do think there's a possibility here, and to kind of steal, I remember there was a Shark Tank episode a while ago. This was not recently. This was probably 5 years ago or longer. But Mark Cuban was basically talking about how he believes that the increase in digital interactions and social interactions, social media, basically that it's going to become so common and so easy to do all these things online, play video games, etc. He's really bullish on in-person experiences. So, what does this mean as an agent? Maybe the future looks like you're having seminars instead of webinars. Maybe you're getting more in-person events, because again, if there's a future where there's so much content and there's disinformation, misinformation, and you're a confused consumer, you're probably going to want to just go see someone in person and get it done. I would imagine.
Maybe, but to me, it screams, it's the same type of thought process that said 10 years ago that seniors aren't on social media or aren't on the internet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's that same type of kind of thought process and mentality, in my opinion. I guess to put a cap on what I was going for,
Yeah.
to summarize it really clearly, everyone's concerned about AI replacing them and making them inept or, unnecessary. I don't think AI itself is going to do that. I think the people that use it are going to do that.
Right.
And that's kind of what my thoughts are, and I think you're going to see it in every industry, ours included. But maybe so, right? Like maybe there's maybe there's a stance of like when people are zigging, you're zagging, but I just don't feel like maybe that works for a little while, but I don't think it's a long-term solution.
I don't think it's something. I think there will be people that value in-person interactions. I think there will be a portion, but I don't think it's a situation where like, early internet adapters were like, oh, well, the internet's just a fad. Like, I don't think AI is just a fad. I think it's definitely here to stay, and it's just going to keep getting better and smarter. But I do see the possibility of there being, your post was really interesting to me because I read it, it's talking about basically value being redefined,
Right.
And I think in-person interactions is a value that will be redefined. I think it could get to a point where, you want to go meet someone and see them because it's a novelty, because you're not doing it, because you're spending 80-90% of your day it's my AI persona talking to your AI persona, and we're not actually even seeing each other. I don't know though. Maybe not. Maybe everyone ends up just wanting to put their AI personas out there and it's easier that way.
This is what I think about, right? I think about as younger generations age in to Medicare,
Yeah.
they're more accustomed to social norms and social trends.
Right.
And so the current generation of seniors, that might be the case, but like think about yourself, right? I think I remember you saying recently on the podcast in the last couple of weeks that you were like, if I need something, I'm hardly ever getting up and going to the grocery store and getting it. I'm ordering off of Amazon
Right.
because it's convenient. I don't have to
Yes.
see anyone.
Yes. Yes.
It, it's that effect to me because like you can get up, you can go to the store, you can talk with the cashier. How's the weather today? Oh, it's getting hot. um, but like, do I want to do that?
No.
No, I think I'd rather click a few buttons on my phone and know it's going to be here
Right.
tomorrow.
Right.
I needed some things last night. I was like, oh, should I go to the store this week? And I was like, why? Why would I do that? I go on Amazon like 10:30 at night and I'm like, add the cart.
Yep.
So I think anything you can think of that they figured out that they can provide the convenience. Like for me, I have groceries brought to us all the time. Like yesterday, I needed to go to the grocery store. I ended up going out looking for video games instead. And I ordered the groceries to be delivered. By the time I got back, they were there. I could have gone to the grocery store. I didn't want to go to the grocery store. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think you'll always have those people that I think prefer the in-person connection, but I think it's going to become lesser and lesser and lesser people each generation that age in.
Yeah.
But if we're talking 5 to 10 years, there'll probably still be a place for that, but it will be almost like you're on an island and the water's slowly kind of eating up the ground underneath you. And eventually you're on like one little plot of land and you're like, what do I do? It's getting close. It's closing in on you under your feet.
It sounds like a Matrix style future is approaching where, we're not actually interacting in real life anymore, that it will all end up being facilitated by AI and human interaction will take a back seat. We're all interacting either through AI or online. The other part of this, so there was someone, I can't remember who honestly, but there was someone in our space who made a comment recently and it was very anti-AI. They were talking about how they didn't believe in it, that they, seniors want humans, blah, 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 blah. They want human interaction. What my initial thought was when I saw this post is I'm like, but what if AI, which in some ways it already is, what if they can't tell it's not a human?
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that seniors don't want AI. What if they don't even know it's not human? What if it's that good? So what are they really, getting seniors online and getting them on social media, that's a big uphill battle. But them talking to a chat bot that's AI versus chatting with a real human that's typing back to them, there's no uphill battle there. They don't even, they might not even know,
Yeah. Like the other thing too is like I imagine legally you'll have to provide a disclaimer that this is an AI.
Right.
But you and I have both heard calls where like the AI will say that and the person doesn't catch it.
Yeah. Hey, I'm
like
Christian's AI assistant. How can I help you?
And they think all the way through. They'll have like 5-6 minute conversation with this person thinking it's a person.
Yep.
The other thing too is like a lot of times, let's see, what's an example I can give? Okay. For the longest time, hated black coffee and said I would never drink black coffee. And I needed cream and milk and caramel and all kinds of things that were killing me in it. I required that.
Yeah.
One day I started getting fat and I was like, okay, I'm done. And I'm all right. I said I'd never have black coffee. Now I'm having black coffee. Like, people's opinion changes when they actually experience something. And so, people, there's so many examples I can give of this. Like,
Right.
people say, oh, I don't like this. How many people said, oh, I don't want to be on that Facebook. I don't want to be on that Facebook. Right. And then they get on it. They're like, oh, I kind of like this. I can see what my friends are doing. I can see what my family's doing. I can follow my, favorite celebrities and see what they're doing. Like, people don't like things that they don't understand. But then once they try something, they're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. I'm more opened up to that. And I think if society moves in that direction, which it clearly is and will continue to do so, you're going to have more of those. Like, my mom is freaked out about AI. Every time I talk to her, I try to on purpose tell her new things that our AI is doing. And she thinks it's like from Satan. Like, legitimately. She thinks it's like evil.
Antichrist.
Yeah, like end of the world type shit.
Yeah.
And she's like, she just and I find it wildly entertaining. Maybe that's evil of me, but like, I sent her a video of me the other day. I'm like, what do you think about this? She's like, you sound very polished. And I'm like, guess what? It wasn't me.
Got you.
And she was like, oh my God. She's like, what if it says things that you would never want it to say? I'll be like, I'll just say, hey, don't say that. I won't post it. I'm like, I'm in control. I'll take it out of the script.
Unless someone is making AI clones of you without your permission.
Yeah. Which could happen. But no, like, my mom is like freaked out about it. My mom won't. My dad downloaded ChatGPT on his phone, and she went ballistic on him about it. She's like, you need to get that off of your phone. It's hacking into everything and stealing your credit card information and your social security.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
So like, but here's the thing. Give it 3 to 5 years, and I think my mom won't have that same type of attitude. It's new and it's scary right now. And she listens to conservative talk radio for seniors, and that's what they're talking about right now. That's why she has that opinion. It's Silicon Valley, the Democrats. It's a Democrat thing.
The older generation's going to be, they're always going to be the slowest to adopt technology, right? Yeah. I mean, that's bar none. I think the reality is that, we got kind of we have 10 minutes. So I want to really wrap this back up into the Medicare space, the senior insurance industry, so you guys can really see where the intersection happens here. I think the reality is that the next 2 or 3 years, as far as being an insurance agent, because we're licensed, right? We aren't just the cashier at the gas station.
Right.
Where literally anybody can do that job. We are licensed individuals offering these plans. I don't think this is a situation where licensed AI takes over all agent jobs in the next 2 years. Like, I think there might be some doomers out there who are trying to sell you that idea. I don't think that's the case at all. The other part of this conversation that we kind of touched on is, like, the legislation behind it is so far behind. There's going to have to be a bunch of new laws created and rules around AI, especially for us, in this space, because we can't have, even if the technology was able to call a senior, write the app, follow up with the senior, follow up with the care, even if you could get an AI to do all of that, it's not legal. You can't legally do it right now.
Right. So
the next 24 months, even though it is increasing at this unprecedented rate, I don't see this as like an immediate extinction event for insurance agents. Right now, I think it's a very powerful tool that you need to figure out how you can really utilize in your business to be more efficient, to save yourself time. But what do you think, direct implications in the near term future for the senior insurance industry from the current state of AI? What would you say that looks like?
Yeah, I think right now, like if you're talking about like the independent agent world, like the days of like an agent having such a hard time having a website and
Right.
spending $10,000 for a website, those days are over. It can build your website for you. It'll look really good. The days of helping you, come up with social media content, you not being able to do that, because some people are just really bad at crafting things, like
Right.
those days are over if you're utilizing it. Even if all you're using is ChatGPT, it can help you with all of the things I've mentioned so far about industry specific, right?
Right.
It can write code for you. It can that you can just copy and paste into a website browser, and boom, you're done. It can, if you don't know how to run ads, it can give you step-by-step instruction on how to run ads. It can write the ads for you. It can even create images for you that you can use in your ads, right? Yep. So I think in the right now future, at a very surface level point, things technology wise that agents have struggled with historically shouldn't be that hard for you anymore. It should be able to assist you in doing those types of things, proofreading things for you, right? Like sending good emails out. All of that stuff should be very easy to do. It wouldn't surprise me if we see some AI tools come out that, you put someone's information in, and it, very basic information, and it'll underwrite them for you. It'll give you like a list of policies that they qualify for, like that. We're already seeing AI underwriting from carriers, to where there's really quick decisions, instant decisions, things like that. Chat bots on your website, chat bots on your social media pages that are just better than the chat bots of old, that can actually talk to people. So those types of things, I think we'll see a lot of. I don't think we'll see a huge of influx yet of like AI agents that are calling people. I think you'll see some of those, but I think that I don't think you're going to see a lot of that yet, because that's a little too more advanced. Yeah, I think those types of things.
Robot Patriot Insurance. The Robot Patriot Insurance is still a ways off, you think?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
Not that it's not coming. RPI, it's coming.
RPI can't be stopped. Can't be stopped.
I did 10,000 apps today. Suck it, bitch. But, yeah.
There's a comment here on the stream which I think is valid, and a good time to mention too. Freebie Friday is happening every Friday right here in the group, so comment below for your chance to win. This comment comes from Jay. He says, "Good luck with AI handling my 82-year-old DSNP client that doesn't have a computer and doesn't have email." So I mean,
I think it's not the same as them trying to do an e-signature on something. Like, it could advance in the next 5 years to a point where she can call in and she doesn't realize she's not talking to a person. That's the point.
right.
If she has a phone, it might be able to handle her as well as it, a person could handle. I mean, some of these people, even you guys can't handle them. They're so difficult, or like you can barely handle them. So that's kind of more of the point than anything else, like she does, this 82-year-old DSNP client doesn't realize they're not talking to a person. They call in, they talking to, you know what I mean? That's kind of where the advancements could take us. But Glenn's right. They can't write a policy, not licensed, at least not yet. But, we might get to a point where an AI could act as an extension of an agent. It's prompted correctly, it's programmed correctly, and it goes through a compliance check to make sure that it is capable of acting in a compliant way. And like maybe a carrier checks it or CMS checks it, kind of like how they'll check marketing right now,
Right.
or websites. Like, is that crazy? I don't think it is. It's like an AI extension of a person.
I don't think it is. I think the scary part though is that it's still an imperfect process. It's not like there's even times when I'm prompting ChatGPT and it spits something back to it did this to me like last week. I was asking about, I can't remember. It was giving me, I don't know if it was NBA finals related. I don't remember what I was about, but it was giving me year-old information. I was trying to get current information and it was giving me info that was 12 months old. And I kept prompting it and it kept giving me year-old info. It's little stuff like that.
What version? Was it free or 4.0?
No, it was paid. It was 4.0.
Oh.
So it's when I come across like little stuff like that, and maybe I could have prompted it better, maybe I could have given it better info that would have given me the correct information. But
you're right? Sometimes it does make mistakes. It's even a disclaimer that's on the app,
Right.
It's imperfect, that kind of thing. But talking about the next 5 years, like the advancements are happening so fast, I think is where my head's at.
Yeah.
And do we see a world where, yes, it's imperfect, but somebody can be so skilled at prompting it and programming it and teaching it that it can be an approved compliant extension of them? Like it can go through a series of tests through a carrier or CMS and get almost like the equivalent of an SMID code, where that AI is compliantly able to write apps as you.
Interesting. So it's kind of an in-between space between like getting a license and getting registered with the carrier type situation.
Right.
Yeah,
like,
I could see that.
And so, it'd have to be able to pass these compliance checks and go through a series of testing to ensure that it's prompted and programmed and trained adequately enough to where it's going to be as good as an agent could be. And could we see that in 5 years? It wouldn't surprise me. 5 years is 2030.
Which sounds like we're talking about Star Trek or something of that 2030 is crazy.
So that's what I'm wondering, if we kind of get to a place with that. But at the very least, like, there's people right now that are programming these things to call their leads and make appointments for them.
For sure. Yeah, setting appointments can be viable. I think there's a lot of different steps in your sales process that an AI can be helpful. Doing some type of automated outreach, potentially doing some pre-screening, qualifying. I think there's parts in the process where, depending on your setup and your system, it can already be a very, very helpful tool. I want to kind of share my final thoughts, you guys, as we get towards the top of the hour here. To the Chicken Littles out there, this is really just another headline that you can grab onto and you can utilize as an excuse if you really want to not be successful. You can sit back and be like, what's the point? AI is going to take over everything in the next 5 years, 10 years. Why should I even bother? Whereas I think the reality is the person who's opportunistic, who sees this as an incredible tool, which, the bar of entry here, paying $20 a month, $40 a month. I mean, you're getting access to some of the best technology on the planet for next to nothing right now. I mean, it's incredible how easy it is to get access to AI tools right now. And there's a slew of them. You know, there's a ton of them, and there's more every day. This is not something that I look at as an extinction event, not anytime soon. So to the chicken littles out there who might have, you know, watched this, listen to this, and you're dooming on what's being said, the immediate future, the next 24 months, I don't see AI taking over in the insurance space in any type of meaningful way. I think if anything, over the next 24 months, AI becomes a more powerful tool to help agents continue to grow their business more and more and more. So those are my final thoughts on, is there anything AI won't be able to do in the next 5 years? Mr. Brindle, final thoughts.
Yeah, I think very well said. I agree. That being said, I would, if I didn't have enough money to live forever right now, which I'm not going to say I do or don't. I don't want to talk about that. But I would be paying attention to what's going on, and I would be looking for opportunities to use this in my business to make my life easier and to make my business run better.
Yes.
Because that's, over time, on a compounding effect, going to have a lot of impact. And I think it's going to not only help you grow in ways you didn't think you could, but it's also going to prevent you from becoming a dinosaur yourself. You know, talk about extinction level events. I think the extinction level event is being a dinosaur.
Yes.
You don't want to,
totally agree.
You're big, you're moving around, you're scaly. The meteor is coming. The rest of us, we can get away. You're like, don't be. That's, to me, that's the extinction level event. Not that like it's gonna come in and take an entire industry, by the throat
overnight.
No, but long-term compounding, I think, kind of like not using the internet. Any businesses today that aren't using the internet, I don't know if there are any.
Oh, that's the crazy part, though. You mentioned, agents who don't have a web. Like, there's still agents right now who don't have websites.
But not using internet, right? You're not using email. You don't have anything.
Yeah,
right.
That's
like
true. They're using some form of technology for sure.
Right. Like the internet is kind of, for a long time now, become this thing to where if you don't use the internet at all in your business, you're out of business. It's just too hard to do anything. That's where we'll get to. Is it in 5 years? Is it in 10 years? Who knows? But I think just looking for those opportunities would be my message. But yeah, I agree. I don't think it's an extinction level event, but you don't want to be the dinosaur. Correct.
Yes. I want to be the meteor. I don't want to be the dinosaur. What's that?
Jurassic Park is not that scary. Okay. We could take them. All right, guys. Appreciate you watching all the way to the end. This episode 121 on this Monday. And if you guys enjoyed the episode, do us a favor, like, comment, subscribe on whatever platform you might be taking in this content on, whatever it allows you to do. We certainly appreciate your support. 5-star reviews, all the whole 9 yards. And we will be back with you next time with another episode of 7 Figures or Bust podcast. Here's to your guys' massive success, and we'll see you on the next one.
Happy selling.